Hello everyone, today I'm here to do a video that I did a few months ago. It's basically like Instagram recommendations. So what I did is a few months ago I went on Instagram and I asked you guys to ask me for some very specific, I was having a hard time with that word, recommendations. Like, you know, say you want a book set on a beach, or a book about sisters, or a book about music, you know, and I try to recommend you a book for that particular recommendation that you're looking for. Does that make any sense? So yeah, I did this, like I said, a couple months ago, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I think I might make this a series where I do this every few months, because it's fun to like get specific recommendation books, and for me to try to fulfill that, I guess you could say. It's like a scavenger hunt. So yeah, I really enjoy doing these. So if you like these, hopefully you do, I think it's going to stay a staple on my channel. So yeah, let's get into it. I have a whole bunch of recommendations that you guys asked for. Sorry for the lighting. The sun is going in and out, so the lighting's just very spotty. It's just how it is. I have this new filming setup, so it's tricky. It's going to take some time to get used to, but let's get into the recommendations. So the first one I got is a book about sisters, and immediately I thought of You'll Miss Me When I'm Gone by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is a YA contemporary book about two sisters. I think they're twin sisters, actually. Yes, and they are very estranged. There's a lot that's happened in their family. Their mother is also dealing with early onset Huntington's disease, and basically the whole book is about them. They take this blood test because it's genetic, and one of them figures out that they will have this disease, and the other one doesn't. So it's not like a light and fluffy book. It's about a book about sisters dealing with a lot, and it's amazing. It doesn't get talked about enough. I love it. So there's your book about sisters. A friends to lovers romance that's not talked about enough. And for me, I picked Very Sincerely Yours by Carrie Winfrey. I read this a couple months ago and really enjoyed it. It's about, like, it's kind of got like a You've Got Mail spin onto it, where it's about a couple that meets via email, and they become friends, and they talk via email for a while. So I consider that a friends to lovers, really, that they were friends before they were really like together, I guess you could say. But I don't hear enough people talk about her whole series. I really enjoyed her last two in it. Waiting for Tom Hanks wasn't my favorite. Sorry about the lighting. The last two were. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed Very Sincerely Yours a ton and would recommend it. Books with animal companions. This came at a perfect time, because as of filming, you know, this is a pre-recorded video, I literally just finished a book that was all about dogs that I was like, oh, this is so cute. And it's actually part of a series. I don't know what the series is called, but the first one is You Lucky Dog, and the second one that I just finished is It Started With a Dog. They're like kind of romance, women's fiction books, and basically it's about a couple that meets, but there's a lot of dogs in them. Like, you know, when you see books that have covers with dogs on them, I don't know about you, but I'm immediately drawn to those because I love dogs. And sometimes those covers are very misleading, but these covers are not. The dogs are very prominent in them. That, like, the author loves this like adoption agency that works with a lot of dogs, and yeah, both of them are just, if you're a dog lover, I would highly recommend the series. It's just really cute. It's a cute series. There's not much depth to it, but goodness me, does it fill your dog lover heart completely. So Books with Animal Companions, that series for sure. Next up is Summer Camp Romance, and the one that I thought of for this one was Sun-Kissed by Casey West. I read this past summer, and it was okay. It wasn't one of my favorite Casey West books. She writes YA contemporary, if you guys didn't know, but it is set in like a camp setting, and it very much reminded me of like Dirty Dancing, because that was kind of like in a camp kind of setting, like an upscale type of thing. So that's why I picked it for this one. I couldn't think of a lot of other ones for this other than maybe You Have a Match by Emma Lord. Those are the only two that I've really read that are like truly, by campy, I mean that are set in a camp. So there you go. Book with Fake Relationship. Another great timing, because hopefully by the time this video goes up, this book that I'm going to talk about will be out, and that is the Luxus by Ali Hazelwood. This is a book that I read this past summer, and I loved it. It's basically about this girl named Olive who is a graduate student. She's like studying science. She's very, very smart. I couldn't understand it, and somehow she gets involved with one of the professors there, and they fake date to appease certain things in their situation, and I loved it. Easily one of my favorite romances of the year. So it's a fake dating book that I think is going to take BookTube by storm when it comes out. I think it comes out in September. Hopefully it should be out by the time you're seeing this. Books similar to Casey West. So like I said, Casey West is a YA contemporary author. She's one of my favorites, but honestly, for books that are similar, by that I mean that are kind of lighthearted, romantic, cute. I have some that I think that will fit that bill. Any Jen Bennett book is very reminiscent of Casey West. I like Jen Bennett's books a little bit more than Casey West books. I think they got a little bit more oomph to them, but that's just me. But she's very reminiscent in the kind of like lighthearted romance style. So Jen Bennett books are great. Any one of them will do, very reminiscent to Casey West. Another one that I don't hear like anybody ever talk about is Shuffle Repeat by Jen Klein. It's about a couple that meets and they like ride to school together and have playlists. And it's just really cute, really reminiscent of Casey West. So I would recommend that author and that book for you, that if you love Casey West books and you want something similar, check those out. Book with a heroine that works at a tech company. That's a great one. The one I thought of was The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. This takes place, Daisy, she works as a software engineer, so that's a really good one. Also another one that I literally just thought of that I don't love as nearly as much as The Dating Plan. It's called Loathe at First Sight by Suzanne Park, and that's about a woman that works at like this video game company where they have to, you know, make video games and the tech that's designed behind it. So both of those are about women that work in the tech company, which is awesome. Ooh, another one is The Boyfriend Project by Farrah Roshan. I think she works in the tech company. I'm pretty sure. That's a cute one as well. So yeah, there's been an abundance of books where the heroine works at a tech company, which is awesome. So there's a lot to choose from nowadays. Romance with a mother main character. For this one, The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. This is all about a woman, what is her name? Jessica, and she's a single mom, and she basically falls into this app where she dates this guy and it kind of goes on from there. But she's a single mom, which is awesome. So she's a mother character. That's great. Another one I just finished as of filming this, as I keep saying, but should be out in October, is Well Matched by Jen DeLuca. That is about a character named April who is also a single mother that finds romance. Both of them are really great. Both are great mothers, really, you know, put their kids first. So both of those I would highly recommend if you're looking for like a great like mother type of romance-centered fiction, if that makes any sense. Book to read when you're feeling sad. Oh my gosh. You know, Casey West could do it for you. I always kind of revert back to Sophie Kinsella because like if I'm like, I might listen to this again soon because this is like one of my favorite audiobooks. It just puts a smile on my face. I love it. It's just fun. Like Sophie Kinsella books can always pull me out of a sad spot. So I would recommend them. They're just funnier chiclets, if that makes any sense. Oh, this is interesting. The most steamy romances you've ever read. By that, that means not PG, pretty much. For this one, I put any Tessa Bailey book. Honestly, I've read a lot, and they are very adult. So those, like any one of her books will do. They're very steamy, very adult, for sure. The other one, I think, I mean, there's a lot that I've read, okay, guys. But The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong was also very steamy. Like one of my first steamy books I ever read. I was like, oh my gosh, but I really loved it. It's one of my favorites, would recommend it. Next up is repairing a marriage/relationship, which is one of my favorite tropes that I don't think it's nearly enough talked about. And for this one, I kind of always revert back to After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It is my favorite as far as that trope is concerned. It's all about this couple at the beginning of the book that is married, but you can definitely tell that it is strained. It's a strained marriage. And they decide to take a year off to like just figure out themselves, figure out who they are without each other, and if they really do love each other. And it is truly a book about them repairing their marriage, figuring out if this marriage is worth repairing, and I loved it. So it's one of her earlier books, so it's more romance forward, because she's mostly known for historical literary fiction now, but I still really loved it. Book with a cooking competition, very specific, not baking, but cooking, which is a great prompt because, you know, baking is a lot in books, but cooking sometimes is not. Where is the book I'm looking for? This one that I don't think has nearly gotten enough love. I bought it because of the cover and the synopsis, and I read it and I loved it. And that is The Kitchen Front by Jennifer Ryan. Ah, this book. So this book takes place in World War II, and it's basically about these 4 women that compete in this contest called The Kitchen Front, because there is a radio show called The Kitchen Front where they tell, it takes place in Britain, where they try to tell people like how to make the best meals with their rations, because back in the war there was a lot of rations. You could only get a certain amount of things and things like that. So basically the whole book is about this competition of these 4 women. They have to make entree. No, they have to make an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. So it's a culmination of the whole dinner pretty much. And whoever gets the most points out of all of these will be the new host for the kitchen front, which back in the time, women did not get a lot of jobs like that. So it's a very heavy competition. I love this book so much. Definitely talks about cooking competition. Highly, highly recommended. Definitely very underrated. Next up is characters who are writers or teachers. For this one, I was like, oh man, but then I thought of both. So first up, characters who are writers. Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. Perfect time to read this. It's all about these writers, horror writers, thriller writers that have to go to this like haunted house to conduct this interview, and it kind of follows each of their paths after that. So if you want a book about writers, this one is great for that. Book about teachers. The one I thought of that I don't love, but I still think a lot of people would love it, and that is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. This follows so many characters. It's set in a private school. There's a few characters we follow that are teachers in that school. So there you go. We have a writer's prompt and a teacher's prompt. Hopefully I filled them both for you. Next up are books with baking. And for that, I always go to The Bake Shop of Pumpkin and Spice. It's a perfect time to read this one as well. It's 3 short stories. It's got a lot of baking in it because it's about the small town, and a lot of the stories take place in this really small town bakery. I like that one. Another one that's like baking and cooking is a graphic novel called Relish by Lucy Kinsley, which I read years ago. It's all about her journey with cooking because both of her parents are chefs and she's a writer. So it goes back on her like food journey. So it talks a lot about food, baking, things like that. So those two I think would be really great. Another one that I would like to recommend, but I haven't read it yet, and that is Rosalind Palmer Takes the Cake. It's a baking competition, so I haven't read it yet, so I fully can't say if it's really good or not, but it's about baking, so there you go. Rom-com with travel element, and for this one I thought of 2. I thought of 80 Days to Elsewhere by Casey Dyer, which is one that I read last year. It's not so romance, but it's got the travel aspect down. Basically, this woman gets a job where they have to recreate a book, like the itinerary of a book, if that makes any sense. So the whole book is, I think the whole book is called the classic Around the World in 80 Days or something like that. So she has to literally do that. She can't take like any planes or anything like that. She has to go back to when that book was published and kind of just take that journey. So she goes on that journey. Of course, romance ensues, and I really enjoyed it. So it's got a really great travel aspect to it. Next up is hard-hitting contemporary. For this one, I'm definitely going to go with Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Aceveda. This is about 2 sisters that don't know they're sisters. They share a dad. They have no clue until their dad dies in a plane crash visiting one of them. One of them lives in the Dominican Republic, the other one lives in New York. So it's all about them discovering that they're sisters, also that their dad has passed away, and it's told in verse, and it is a very beautiful contemporary, but it's very hard-hitting. A lot of, really intense topics, but highly, highly recommend. And the last one I have is books with best friend relationship. And the one I thought of for this is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. This one is all about 2 friends, best friends. They're gonna have a great summer together, and then one of them kind of just leaves on vacation with her family and leaves the other one in the dust. But you still get a lot of their relationship in the book of how they became best friends, how they're still best friends. I would dare say a lot of Morgan Matson books has a really strong best friends presence. This one, as well as Take Me Home Tonight, her newest one, that's also got a strong best friends presence as well. So both of them would probably do. But there you have it. Those are some more Instagram recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed this because I love filming this. It's just like a great hunt to try to figure the right book out for you. So if you enjoyed this series, please let me know so I can continue on with it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.